Alright guys, it is time for the next video. If you follow me on Instagram or Facebook or any of the other social medias, you'll know we are expecting our second daughter. We are very excited, and it's time to update the spare bedroom into a second nursery. So this is going to be actually a series of videos. We're going to do a new dresser build, we're going to do some wainscoting, we're going to do some closet built-ins, a couple different things. So I figured I'd just make it a couple different videos because the channel needs content and it'd be a lot to include in one video. So first things first, we're going to update the closet, make it a bit more functional, and while we're doing the new nursery's closet, we figured we'd go ahead and tackle Emmy's closet as well, just to get the most bang for our buck. So let's go buy some materials. And this video is off to a great start because somehow I lost the footage of me actually getting the materials from the store. But we are using 3/4 inch MDF. This is a 4x8 sheet. It's super affordable, relatively durable, and these are closet built-ins, so this should get the job done just fine. The first thing we're going to do is rough cut things down with the track saw, and then we'll take things over to the table saw to get those final measurements dialed in. Now, all of the measurements I'm using are obviously referential to our own closets, but things to keep in mind are your closet's depth and the depth of your built-ins. We opted for 16-inch depth built-ins because our closets are 24 inches deep. This gives us some maneuverability room. Then I matched my table saw up to that width and ripped all of my boards at the same time without moving the fence to ensure all those pieces would line up perfectly once I got them in the closet. Guys, I can't express this enough. When you're building things that have a lot of components and they all kind of look similar, label everything as much as you possibly can. Then once the pieces were cut, we could go into the room, get a little bit of a before image of this very small room, and start cleaning everything out so we could get ready to install our closet built-ins. And I know right now we're focused on the room and not the closet, which may seem inconsistent for this video because this video is all about closet built-ins, but we are also going to totally redo this room and build a lot of components for it, so I thought it'd be good to see where it started and where it ends. Now that that's cleared out, we could get a little bit of painting done, get a nice white coat of paint on the walls. This is because we're going to be doing wainscoting later. And then I could go in the closet and match up where the studs were. That way I could drive my pocket hole screws directly from the board into the studs of the closet and have a nice secure connection. Originally when I designed these built-ins, I had set the height to be 6 foot, and then when I got everything removed, I realized there was already a bar there and our shelf fit perfectly, but the vertical partition didn't. So I went ahead and marked that, got it cut down, and got it fit in its place. I ran into the same issue on the other closet, but again, got it cut down, and we were able to use what was already in the closet, and that made our job a lot easier. I will note that the design for this particular closet, the new nursery, was heavily influenced by these two random boxes that are stored on the wall. I'm pretty sure the one on the left holds different coaxial cables that bring in our cable line. I'm not sure what the one on the right is, but since I didn't know, I didn't want to mess with them. I just worked around them and got our built-ins installed. Important things to keep in mind here are making sure that you are square on both the X, the Y, and the Z axis. That way everything lines up well, and if you have any drawers that you're putting in, you don't run into any issues later on. And finally, after all our shelves were installed, we could take a step back and look at how far we've come. We've got our built-ins installed, everything is connected. We did have to notch out for the trim. Keep that in mind if you're doing built-ins in a closet that has trim. Once we got that done, we could turn our attention over to Emmy's room and start working on this closet. Figured since we were doing one, we might as well do the other, and we have been hoarding random crap in this closet since we moved in, so it's well overdue. Here's a clip kind of showing what I was referencing at the beginning of the video. We made these shelves 16 inches deep, that way we had enough room to maneuver this large piece inside the opening of the closet and get it in place. If we had made it the exact depth of the closet, this would have been next to impossible because we would have to fight the corners and it would have been a nightmare. Here I'm connecting 2 of our vertical partitions with a little spacer. Again, this is just more MDF and pocket hole screws. What this is going to do, since our vertical partitions are not lining up on the studs in the closet, this will give us a secure connection that we can drive screws into the studs. That way our built-ins are not moving around on us. And just like driving pocket hole screws in any other material, when you're driving these in, make sure you're clamping the piece together. As that screw pulls, the pan head washer will move things on you, so clamp it tight. Word from the wise, anytime you're cutting shelves and installing them in a place like this, just cut yourself some spacers that are the exact same length, and you don't have to worry about making sure your shelf is level or not. It'll save you a big headache. If you recall, about 3 minutes ago in the other closet, I did not do this, and it was a huge pain in the butt. So learn from my mistakes, use some spacers, and you'll save yourself just a lot of frustration. Once I had everything assembled, I stood it up and put it into the closet, and this is when I realized I cut it to the wrong height. I measured from the support bar instead of from the top shelf. Definitely a bummer, but this is not worth rebuilding this whole thing from. So instead, off camera, I cut a couple of filler strips out of MDF that I could slide into that little piece. I spackled, we sanded, we painted, and now you can't even tell. Like I've said in previous videos, at Donnie Grimm Builds, we don't hide our mistakes. We show them, we explain how they happen, we learn from them, and we fix them. Since this is a very beginner DIY kind of project, anybody can do built-ins, I wanted to make sure you guys know that when you botch things, and you will, you can fix it. Don't be discouraged, stay after it. With that mistake corrected, we can move right along to installing our face frame. For those who don't know, face framing is just a 3/4 inch piece of material that you apply to the face of your built-ins or your cabinets or whatever it may be, and this allows you to hit those pieces, put all that wear and tear of boxes and hangers and anything else that would hit the shelf on the hardwood piece of lumber and not on the MDF, because the hardwood lumber will hold up a lot better. In this case, we are using poplar. I've seen people use select pine, that works as well, but poplar paints really well and it's a little bit more sturdy. I applied all of these pieces using some wood glue and some 18 gauge brad nails. Now, 18 gauge brad nail holes are not that big, but they are noticeable and you will see them when you paint if you don't cover them. So what we're going to use is some paintable caulk and some wood filler. I take the paintable caulk and run through all the seams on the built-ins using a cup of water and my finger to smooth out those seams. Surprisingly, this works way better than any kind of caulking tool I've ever used, and it's free. So do yourself a favor and give this a try before you invest in any extra tools. Next, we'll take that wood filler, we'll fill in all of those holes. Full disclosure, I probably could have used the caulk on these holes as well, but I had both, so I figured why not. Then, once everything was dry, we could take our sander with 220 grit hooked up to our dust collection with the respirator and smooth everything out to get it ready for paint. And this is a great time to mention that if you've made it this far in the video and you're enjoying the content, please consider hitting that like button and subscribing to the channel. I put out videos like this about every 2 weeks and I would love to have you along for the ride. So while I'm struggling to fight this plastic into place over carpet, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and you can catch these headaches firsthand as soon as they post. Now this next step is super important. MDF will absorb paint all day long until the cows come home. So if you want to get a good coat on, make sure that you are priming first. Just about any primer will do. Just avoid using the paint and primer in one combinations because you'll have to do like 4 coats. And honestly, after I primed, I got away with 1 coat of paint. So priming is definitely worth its while. To apply the paint to these closets, I'm using my HVLP sprayer. All that means is it's a high volume, low pressure sprayer. These are very affordable. They're all over the market. Mine was like $100. I got it off of Amazon. I'll throw a link down below. Once the paint was drying, I went ahead and turned my attention to making the drawer boxes for Amy's closet. I got these broken down on the table saw using the crosscut sled and whipped them together using some brad nails and wood glue. Typically when making drawer boxes, I usually just sand the tops, the sides, the bottoms, the whole 9 yards to make sure things are smooth, but these are going to go in my toddler's room and the last thing I want is for her to get a splinter pulling on one of these drawers. So I went ahead and hit it with a round over bit first and then followed everything up with a really thorough sanding. One thing I do want to note, I've used my brad nailer a lot in this video, and I will use it a lot going forward, especially with the wainscoting that we're going to do in the new nursery. If you have a battery powered nail gun and you're not getting enough power from it, just make the jump to air power. It is a dramatic change. I'll throw a link to this one down below. I picked this one up from Home Depot. I think it was maybe $100, $125 on sale, especially with Black Friday approaching. This will just save you such a headache. As for drawer installation, I do this the same way every time. Slide the male part out of the female part, get yourself a spacer block, use a depth gauge, or just measure the thickness of your front drawer face. That way the drawer and the drawer face end up being flush with the framing. Slide the female part into place and match up the outside line with the depth gauge that you marked. Pre-drill with a self-centering drill bit. These are super handy and inexpensive. I'll put a link down below. Pre-drill and then drive your screws home, rinse and repeat, and you can install drawers easy peasy. Now, once you got the female slides attached to the side of the wall, put the male part back in, slide them all the way in, then sit a material down. I use 1/2" MDF, but any material will do, just something that'll put the bottom of your box off of the shelf. That way it's not friction and rubbing when you're trying to pull your shelves in and out. Slide the male part out just a little bit and match it up with the front of the drawer box. Then using that same self-centering drill bit, drive home your screws one at a time, pulling the drawer out a little bit further to get access to those back holes as you're going. So pretty much every drawer slide I've ever worked on has 3 points of attachment for the drawer itself. The last one you'll have to pull the drawer all the way back out and then drive that screw in. This is important to do, otherwise your drawer will tilt and pivot as you're pulling it in and out, and that's obviously not what we want. And really from there, all you need to do is recut your spacers, rinse and repeat, and both your drawer boxes can be installed. Now, if you'll recall, we set our drawer slides back the depth of the drawer face. That way, when we put our drawer face in, it would be flush with the face frame of the cabinet. Now, off camera, I pre-drilled the holes for the hardware. That way I could use those same holes to secure the drawer face to the cabinet temporarily and not make additional holes in the drawer face, which would obviously be bad. To get the spacing right, I like to use cards, playing cards, Uno cards, any kind of cards will work. Just count out the same number of cards and you'll get even spacing. Typically what I'll do is pre-drill these holes, secure the drawer face to the drawer box, and then pull out the drawer altogether and then secure the drawer box to the drawer face using screws from behind. In this case, I happen to have a helper who was distracting me, so I did it in kind of a reverse order, but either way, this will work. That way you can get it secure. This way, I had just drilled it, marked the holes, and then drilled those through all the way and started the process over. I just added an extra step for myself because, as you can see here, Emmy really wanted to be involved, and it was a bit of a distraction. Anyway, after all the wonderful help from Emmy, we were finally ready to get this loaded up and show you guys the reveal. Alright guys, that's going to do it for this week's video. Thank you so much for following along on this. If you enjoyed the video, if you learned something from the video, hit that subscribe button. I put out videos like this about every 2 weeks, and I'd love to have you along for the ride. Subscribe, like, comment, share, do all the things, and we'll see you in the next one.